Messenger of Allah, blessings and peace upon him, says, "The son of Adam does not fill any vessel worse than his stomach. It is sufficient for the son of Adam to eat a few mouthfuls to keep him standing upright. But if he must fill it, then 1/3 of his food, 1/3 for his drink, and 1/3 for his breathing." Obesity continues to be one of the most serious problems today. Over 671 million people around the world suffer from obesity, and over 1 billion are overweight. This includes more than 43 million children under 5. Obesity has reached epidemic proportions globally, with at least 3.4 million people dying each year as a result of being overweight or obese. Nearly 30% of the world's population is obese or overweight. Overweight and obesity are leading risks of global deaths. In addition, 44% of the diabetes burden, 23% of the ischemic heart disease burden, and between 7 and 41% of certain cancer burdens are attributes to overweight and obesity. Worldwide, obesity has nearly doubled since 1980. In 2008, more than 1.4 billion adults, 20 and older, were overweight. Of these, over 200 million men and nearly 300 million women were obese. 35% of the adults aged 20 and over were overweight in 2008, and 11% were obese. 65% of the world's population live in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than people being underweight. The number of overweight and obese people globally increased from 857 million in 1980 to 2.1 billion in 2013. More than 40 million children under the age of 5 were overweight or obese in 2012. The highest proportion of these world's obese people, 87 million people, or 13%, live in the United States. China and India together represent 15% of the world's obese population. Researchers conducted what they say is the first of its kind analysis of trend data from 188 countries. More than half of the world's 671 million obese people live in just 10 of these countries. Number 1. The United States is the most obese country in the world, with 86.9 million either overweight or obese. China leads second and has over 62 million people that are overweight and obese. Coming in third, India has a startling increase with 41 million people obese or overweight. Russia comes in fourth, outweighs most European countries in obesity, ranking with 55% of the Russians having a problem with excessive weight. In fifth, Brazil. Obesity in Brazil is a growing health concern, with 52.6% of men and 44.7% of women in Brazil are overweight. 15% of Brazil is obese. At 6, Mexico. Roughly 70% of the Mexicans are overweight and almost 1/3 are obese. As many as 70,000 people in Mexico die each year from diabetes. At 7, Egypt. In Egypt, nearly 70% of the adult population, about 56.5 million people, are considered to be overweight. At 8, Germany. Quarter of Germany is obese. 67% of men and 53% of women are overweight. A further 23% of the men and 24% of the women are clinically obese. Pakistan at number 9. 1/3 of adults in Pakistan are considered overweight, followed by Indonesia at number 10. The problem was most acute in the Middle East and North Africa, with more than 58% of adult men and 65% of adult women considered as obese or overweight. Bahrain, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Oman and Kuwait saw the biggest increases. The common health consequences of overweight and obesity, raised body mass index, is a major risk factor for non-communicable diseases such as type 2 diabetes, induced diabetes. In some people, diabetes makes other risk factors much worse. The danger of heart attacks is especially high for those people. Obesity increases the risk of heart disease and stroke, but it harms more than just the heart and blood vessels. It's also a major cause of gallstones, osteoarthritis and respiratory problems. Cardiovascular disease, mainly heart disease and stroke, which were the leading cause of death in 2012. Cancers, endometrial, breast and colon cancers. Musculoskeletal disorders, especially osteoarthritis, a highly disabling degenerative disease of the joints. Hypertension, which you also know as high blood pressure. Dyslipidemia, for example high total cholesterol or high levels of triglycerides. Stroke, liver and gallstone bladder. Sleep apnea and breathing problems. Osteoarthritis, a breakdown of cartilage and bone within the joints. Gynecological problems such as abnormal periods and infertility. Childhood obesity is associated with a higher chance of obesity, premature death and disability in adulthood. But in addition to increased future risk, obese children experience breathing difficulties, increased risk risk of fractures, hypertension, early markers of cardiovascular disease, insulin resistance and psychological effects. Islam teaches some prospective measures, the most important of which is moderation in eating and prohibition of extravagance therein. Allah, may He be exalted, says, "And eat and drink, but waste not by extravagance. Certainly He likes not Al-Musrifoon, those who waste by extravagance."